WrestleMania 38 is almost here, and to get ready for the most stupendous two-night event in WrestleMania history, I went back and watched all 37 WrestleManias, so I could put a list together of the top 10 WrestleManias of all time. Number 10, WrestleMania 18. They really went all out for the last WrestleMania of the Attitude Era. This show had a brutal no DQ match between Ric Flair and The Undertaker, an underrated four corners elimination match for the tag team championships, and a main event for the undisputed title between Triple H and Chris Jericho. But as great as those matches were, they would all take a backseat to The Rock versus Hogan. It might not have been a technical masterpiece, but it had one of the most electric crowds in wrestling history. Both men played into the audience so well and were a perfect duo to close out the Attitude Era. Number 9, WrestleMania 10. Whenever a wrestling show is held at Madison Square Garden, you know something special is going to happen. And on this night, there were two matches that were considered match of the year, and some even argue match of the decade. The first was between brothers Bret and Owen Hart. These two put on a 20-minute wrestling clinic, which many consider the best opening match in pay-per-view history. The other was a ladder match between Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship. This match was truly groundbreaking at the time. These two were the ones that put the ladder match on the map. And without them, who knows if the ladder match would be as popular as it is today. Number 8, WrestleMania 31. This WrestleMania had a little bit of everything. We saw one of the best RKOs out of nowhere, Sting's first official match in WWE that included a NWO versus DX face-off, Rusev making his entrance in a tank, and even a brawl between The Rock, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and future women's champion Ronda Rousey. But none of this topped the main event, when Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase mid-match and defeated two of the biggest WWE superstars of all time. Some argue it's the greatest WrestleMania ending in history. Number 7, WrestleMania 22. If you like match stipulations, then this is the WrestleMania for you. This show had a ladder match, a hardcore match, an intergender handicap match, a casket match, no hold barred match, and even a Playboy pillow fight match. Now both title matches didn't have any stipulations, but they didn't need one to really deliver. Rey Mysterio won his first heavyweight title in a fast-paced triple threat match, and John Cena retained his WWE title by tapping out Triple H to close the show, which ended up being the last WrestleMania held in a traditional arena. Number 6, WrestleMania 20. When WWE returned to Madison Square Garden for their 20th anniversary, they put on another show with a lot of great moments. The Rock and Sock Connection teamed up for the first time at WrestleMania. John Cena won the United States Championship, his first ever title win. Eddie Guerrero successfully defended his WWE title for the first time against Kurt Angle. And Paul Bearer resurrected the dead man from the grave to take on his brother Kane. And then the main event just put the cherry on top, delivering one of the best triple threat matches of all time. It's a shame that Chris Benoit tainted his legacy, because the closing moments with him and Eddie Guerrero in the ring with their titles was one of the best feel-good moments in WrestleMania history. Number 5, WrestleMania 30. I don't think there has been an underdog story as good as Daniel Bryan's, and the climax of this incredible story took place at WrestleMania 30. In the opening match, Bryan had to defeat Triple H and The Authority to even qualify for the main event. And then he went on to defeat Randy Orton and Batista to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Even though this was a great underdog story, the biggest upset of the night was Undertaker losing to Brock Lesnar, ending his 21 win streak on the grandest stage of them them all. To this day, it's still one of the most shocking moments in wrestling history. Number 4, WrestleMania 21. This year's show was the true passing of the torch that helped catapult the Ruthless Aggression era. Eddie Guerrero lost to Rey Mysterio, which ended up being Eddie's last WrestleMania match, and the dreadful title reigns of Triple H and JBL would come to an end, giving John Cena and Batista their first major title wins. Now, these 3 moments alone would make a great WrestleMania. But this show also featured the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match and a top 10 WrestleMania match of all time between Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. Number 3, WrestleMania 24. In my opinion, this is probably the most underrated WrestleMania of all time. The show is most famous for Shawn Michaels retiring Ric Flair in one of the most emotional moments in wrestling history. And as you can imagine, this moment alone usually overshadows all the other great things that happened on this show. It started off hot with a fun Belfast brawl and a high-action Money in the Bank ladder match. And it ended with 2 great title matches. A triple threat between Randy Orton, John Cena, and Triple H for the WWE Championship. And in the main event, Undertaker defeated Edge for the Heavyweight Championship in one of Undertaker's best WrestleMania matches of all time. Number 2, WrestleMania 19. The first WrestleMania under the WWE name delivered in a huge way. Not only did this show have one of the best stages in one of the best venues, it had one of the best cards as well. It started off with a fast-paced Cruiserweight Championship match between Rey Mysterio and Matt Hardy, a triple threat match for the Women's Championship, a triple threat match for the Tag Team Championship, and an instant classic between Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho. And we're not even halfway through. In the back half of the show, Hulk Hogan put his career on the line in a street fight against the boss, Mr. McMahon, and we got the trilogy between The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, which ended up being Stone Cold's last match of his career. I have to say that this WrestleMania was only a better Undertaker match and a shooting star press away from being the best of all time. Number 1, WrestleMania 17. From start to finish, there hasn't been a WrestleMania quite like this one. This show featured a great balance of traditional wrestling and absolute craziness. On the wrestling side, there was Jericho versus Regal, Benoit versus Angle, and Triple H versus Undertaker. And on the crazy side, there was a triple threat hardcore match that went through the entire arena, a tables, ladders, and chairs match, which instantly became one of the best matches in WrestleMania history, and a father versus son street fight between Vince and Shane McMahon, which had the entire family involved. It also had one of the best main events in WrestleMania history, and one of the biggest moments, when Stone Cold turned heel and joined Mr. McMahon. It's going to take a masterpiece to take the crown from WrestleMania 17, a crown the show has held over the past 21 years.